In 2013, the country, fresh from the election, was faced with a dispute between the National Assembly and the Senate. Senators had wanted to be involved in the passing of the Division of Revenue Bill, the law which determines how national revenue is divided between the national government and the devolved governments. The National Assembly would not budge, saying it had the sole right to decide how revenue is shared between the two levels of government, and the work of the Senate was only to decide how the funds allocated for devolution is distributed among the 47 counties. The matter had to go to the Supreme Court, which sided with the Senate and called for dialogue between the two houses. Members of the National Assembly and the Senate both agreed that the drafters of the Constitution failed by not clearly making one house superior to the other.
I don't think there is any jurisdiction in the world where you have the two houses and it's not clear which one is an upper house, which one should have a veto power over the other. The way you look at our Constitution, the two houses were almost treated as equal houses in terms of power.
The incoming Senate, I think, is the one which has the obligation to make sure they spearhead Kenyans to have a referendum, revisit the Constitution, and either make that Senate a real upper house, or do away with it.
The Constitution made the Senate in charge of counties and to oversight the funds that had been allocated to the devolved units. The Senate also considers and determines resolutions to impeach the president. Such petitions, however, have to originate from the National Assembly. The Constitution appeared to make the National Assembly more powerful because the Speaker of the National Assembly is the third in line of succession in the country after the president and his deputy. MPs can also come up with any bill and don't have to pass them through the Senate unless they concern counties and how county governments run, and these have been mainly laws dealing with the elections and revenue. Senators, however, feel more superior because they represent larger units and because the world over, Senates are the ones with more power and are called the upper house.
You see, the word upper house is misguided. I know in the Senate we have been labeling to call ourselves upper house. But you see, you are upper in the sense you are senior, in the sense that you can vet things. But if you can't, how are you upper?
Actually, the powers that are given to the Kenyan Senate is so weak to the extent that you see people are running away from that house.
These 1 or 2 persons per county, or like in the states per state, you know, they are only 50 against the other one, 500 something. It makes a lot of sense because that's a vetting house. This is where you'd look things seriously, and this is where you'd curb excesses. This is where you'd curb excesses of politics or party politics and so on.
The national government is also the one that oversees the executive and approves the senior appointments it makes. While the law allows for mediation committees that are supposed to deal with disputes between the two houses, often those appointed to them have been accused of being headliners.
At least for now, one coalition is controlling both houses in terms of numbers. Wait for a time that Kenya will have a system where two parties control either of the houses. That is when we will have the biggest crisis in this country, because one party can decide to cripple the operations of government by refusing to cooperate with the other house.
While it appeared to have been resolved, especially when it comes to the division of revenue, the rivalry has resurfaced again and is now threatening the services of both levels of government. Andrew Ochieng, NTV.